Hi, I'm Thomas. This is Wonder Existence program. I'm here with Geert and Mike, as always, and we're going to be discussing about some aspects of life. But the first very important question is why? And why I'm asking, or why I'm saying that? Because why is the question which becomes a beginning of almost every single subject we discuss in this program. So, question why we doing this? Why we actually talking about topics and subjects related to existence or non-existence or the physical reality? Friend of mine asked me one day, why do you do that? Why are you interested in aspects of death or life, or why even you think about why you're here? You're here because you need to live. You've got your life. You just need to do your daily tasks. But then my question comes like, but why? Why do I have to do it? Why do I need to play this role? Why need to be part of this show? Is this a show? Is this what is this actually? Where are we? Is this a reality? What is reality? All those kinds of questions come to my head very often, and that's one of the reasons why I decided to talk about it today. We want to find the answer to the question why we are here and who are we and what is the purpose of us being here. So, here, shall we start with you, perhaps?
It's simple, just because you like talking about these subjects. That's the reason why you do it. But I understand that people are questioning me also. Well, don't bother all those difficult themes. You get quarreling. All those religions are quarreling. Why are you doing that? So that's a good question, but I need to. For me, it's not a choice to only do the daily things daily tasks you have to do. Every daily task has for me that question, and that's the reason why I want to talk about it. Because I need to. For else, I would be very fast ill, I think.
And now comes the big question, why do you feel you need to?
It's an inner impulse. I don't know where it comes from.
When did it start?
Well, that's I think in the introduction it started very early. But at school I was always the clown a bit in questions. So the question the teacher thought, well, this is for everybody important. I could easily make a question that would be for everybody could laugh about it. But I think I was the most serious pupil who listened to the subject. So yeah, that's what happens to me. If someone has a subject, I'm joking about it. It's walking around it. What is it? Why do we have to do this? And most people, on my school, they just wanted to do their examen and have the paper for the school, and that was not my interest. I thought that's the problem of later, and so it comes with me as an impulse. Just like playing soccer is just the ball has to go in the goal of the other party you're playing with, but that's not what soccer is for me. Well, football is a really non-physical game, and you can see if you would do it without comment, you think, what are they doing? For me, it's the American football. I don't understand what they're doing.
Just run.
Just run with the ball and just... So I did look at it and I couldn't see what they... So you have to to have a thought that before you understand things. So it was for me necessary. And with soccer, I think I understand what needs to be done. But it's more thinking than doing.
Okay, but the question is actually, why do you want to think about yourself, about your existence? Why do you think you should even be thinking about it? Look at the average man. Average man just looks after his money, his family, his pleasures on a daily basis. I don't know, his car or maybe journeys.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the average man. With all respect, obviously, to everyone.
And you can put the question more, would you personally have those thoughts if you didn't have enough money to if you were hungry every day? Would you have the same questions? That's a good. That's a question. Well,
my question would be more like, what triggers? Let's say in you, what triggers in you this need of looking for this deeper purpose? Why don't you think like, oh, I've got my food, I've got my, I don't know, TV set, or I don't know, maybe guitar, I play on a daily basis, I'm happy. Why should I start thinking about, I don't know, different realities or anything else? Why?
Yeah. It's a good question, but I think the impulse is the best answer. It just comes up.
Yeah, the impulse is the trigger, and you could say just as easily you could say, well, why not? You know, some people choose not to. Some people choose to do it, to answer these, to question, or to go through these sort of topics, to ask these questions.
Mm-hmm.
And some people choose not. You can ask them, why don't you? You can turn the question around, and they would have just as much, or they give the same answer.
Yeah.
I don't have the impulse to ask those questions, and some people do have the impulse. And
where does this impulse come from?
Yeah, that's a big question. Eh? Big question. Where does that impulse come from? We talked about this in our introduction, about why we want to be around this table talking with you about these things. And he had his story from childhood, and impulse come from a thought to do with the death of his grandmother, was it? And then the big question, what is death? And wanting to know the answer to a question that nobody could supply. And I had my little awakening, which gave me an insight into a sort of community belief system that just didn't make any sense. So I wanted to know what did make sense. It's still an impulse. Well, why? I was thinking then, besides the fact that it's an impulse, besides the fact that it's fun, it's great asking these questions and delving into to areas where mankind has been delving into since it came into existence, and nobody's answered it sufficiently enough for everybody to say, okay, well, we're done now. We don't need to ask that question anymore. It's also, what I find personally, I get to know myself better by asking these questions. I understand my impulses, the energy that's driving me, the interests and passions that are steering me towards making certain choices, not making other choices, and I like to know myself. I want to know myself,
But does it mean that the others don't want to know themselves?
Well, I don't know. You would have to ask them, do they want to know themselves? I know a lot of people that say, no, I don't need to know myself. Thank you very much. It scares me.
It scares me even.
Oh, some people admit it scares them to actually analyze themselves. I love to analyze myself. So I mean, it is a fun thing as well. It's an enjoyment. But I find by analysing myself, by asking these questions, and answering them myself, instead of waiting for somebody to tell me what the answers are, I find that I understand myself more and more and more. And because I can understand myself, I can position myself in whatever society surrounds me with, and I can feel confident in any situation because I understand why I'm there and what I need to do to cope with it. It's a sort of freedom. I experience an enormous freedom. The more I know myself, the more free I become, and that for me is something that, again, an impulse maybe that I find more important than anything else, and to the point that I can't, I couldn't ever not do it. It just seems that if you're not going to know yourself, what is the point of being here?
But don't you think that we are sort of minority in this society? Because as far as I see, majority of people, they just live let's say a normal life, like average man life, which means that you focus on the daily tasks, which supposedly are the most important things you have to do in your life. I mean, you are born here, you just educate yourself, you enjoy your life, you have fun, and then you die. Why would you spend, in your case, a massive number of time on analyzing yourself if you know you're going to die? The same as person who doesn't ask these questions.
Yeah.
What do you think you will achieve, or are you going to achieve anything?
Well, what I've achieved so far is the understanding that I don't die. So that makes it even more interesting. And if you can come up with that, then okay, I'm not going to die. What's afterwards? Oh, let's you can go on forever. It's just fascinating. It's like watching a fantasy movie, if you like, or reading a fantasy story. It becomes more and more fantastical and more liberating. And this program is called Wonder of Existence, and it's that sense of wonder that lies behind all this questioning, I think. And what you were saying, do most people not ask these questions? I don't know. I'm not most people, and I have the idea that most people don't like to speak about it in public, but whether they do in private, ask these questions in private, I don't know.
That brings me to ask another question, because we said like there are a group of people who interested in analyzing themselves and going into that direction. There's a group of people obviously not interested, and they just want to spend their lives on whatever we as a society were programmed to. But there's a group which is just in between, in my opinion. The people who actually you mentioned, they analyze them, but then that they analyze them either somewhere hidden in the room, or they analyze them publicly, but they've been doing that, or they were doing it for some period of time, and at some point they hit the wall, which is called I don't know, I couldn't find the answer. But if I can't find the answer, what's the point of going further? There's no answer anymore, which means no point to go further. And they stop, and they come back to the average man rule, which is, okay, let's eat, let's consume, let's have fun, let's go sleep. You position yourself.
You have to answer the question too. Why are you interested? But you can ask them, why do you eat? Why don't stop eating? It finishes within 30 days.
Yeah.
So if you don't believe it has sense, why don't you stop eating?
I think that
You like it.
No,
You-
I think I'm in a position to respond to this question because this is biological need. This is nothing more than
But
just
if you're
your
dead,
body
you don't
is
need.
asking for-
You have no biological
I
need
know,
anymore.
Then why do people want to live and not
Yeah.
know why they want to live?
Lots of people don't know if they want to live. They just live because
They
they
live because they're there, but they don't question why they're living or whether they even want to. You know, I mean, but supposing they did ask the question about themselves and decided, well, it's life is hard, life is difficult, life is a pain, life is it's all set for us, and there's nothing, and it's an accident, and we're here just to live. Well, why? Why don't you?
Stop.
Why don't you just stop? If you're not going to do anything with it, why do you can continue to complain and not just stop? It's I can't.
So there must be a reason.
There must be a reason.
They don't want to think about it, but there must be a reason
Yeah.
to not stop.
Yeah. What is that?
So easy to
Okay,
stop.
yeah, it's in part of the program of survival. Yeah. Well, okay. Well, the question: what is that instinct of survival? Why should you survive? What's the point of surviving?
And why is it so strong?
Why is it so strong? Yeah.
But now you're
most people have that feeling of survival, and still don't wonder. What is this? What is this?
But there's a group of
instinct?
people who actually decide to finish it. They don't see the light at the end of the tunnel. They believe that there's no point to carry on with this miserable life.
Yeah, and they make a decision.
And they make a
But it
decision.
should be a lot more. If they take their own theories serious. But-
Some people call it very important act because this is the final act where you decide if you want to carry on or not, and it's act
But
of
you
bravery.
decide something you don't know if it carries on or not.
Yeah, obviously you don't know where you're going.
No. So if
But
you
you're trying to run away from
Yeah.
what you are in.
and what is your reason you want to you have those questions?
Because it's been bothering me for years. It's been bothering for years.
But why
and-
don't you live life, do your daily tasks, go to bed, and
there was a time when I was, let's say, student. I was relatively poor. I couldn't afford to do anything apart from just supporting my life and educating myself. Later on, I got some more freedom. I could start my journeys and see the world as it is in this physical reality. And I found it very interesting to meet new people, to see new areas, and all those different languages and etc. etc. This is all great, but every time I go through something which fascinates me, I find the dead end. So always, it's like with the kids when you introduce them with the new toy. They pick it up, they play massively every single day for hours. After some time, let's say 10 days, they just drop it away and they don't care about it anymore because they experience this toy.
No,
They know what it is
something else.
about. They bend it this
something
way
new.
and that
Yeah.
way, and they say like, okay, nothing more interesting in it. Okay, I'm not interested anymore. Let's switch to something else. That's what happens to me, and it's been happening to me for entire life. And every time I meet something else, I go for something else, then I see dead end. I see like, okay, but I touched it. I felt that. Let's try something else. And that brings me to this corner where I started to think actually several years ago, why is that? What's the purpose of that? Why is it going to be like that? And why should I just jump into something else? Maybe I should just shut down myself and not expose myself to anything else. But then there's a black hole. You do nothing. You just sit in a corner and thinking like, oh, shall I die now? No. Okay, so what should I do? Okay, let's pick up something. But why should I pick up something? Maybe I should just kill myself and disappear. Okay, but if you disappear, you don't know even where you're going. If you're going anywhere, maybe you'll be just dead and that's it.
Sort of, I'm here, so I might as well make the most of it.
Yeah.
That's the way I think. I mean, I've sort of come to terms with the fact that of death. And if something happened to me tomorrow and that was the end of my life, well, either I wouldn't know, so I would not have nothing to regret, or I would be in a higher place where I could see it from a higher perspective and say, oh, it's not so serious. I don't understand it. So I don't suffer. Now, that doesn't mean that I want to go. I want to actually live a long life because part of my interest is how long can you actually live? Or are we programmed to actually? Are we really programmed, physically programmed to die? Around 100 latest, or is that a sort of a psychological program, and you can actually live a lot longer if you actually believe you could? That's one of the questions and one of the exercises I like to consider. So I need to be around a long time to find out if that's true. I can't die at 70 and I can't prove to myself that you can live to 130 if I die at 70. So I'm not going to find the answer without living that long. So that is a sort of challenge to myself. And then other things are like challenges. I mean, can I live with
curiosity?
Curiosity is obviously a massive part of it, but that's the impulse, curious.
Yeah.
And you discover new things every single day. Right? Every single day brings something new.
If you're looking for something new, you can always find something new. But I mean, curiosity is the impulse.
Yeah.
But is this the purpose of your life? Just to experience a new day?
Yeah.
And what if you decide to quit and you?
Well, why should I decide to quit?
I'm just referring to people who decided to quit.
If I decided to quit, I would quit. But it's too fascinating and I'm too curious and it's too exciting and too much fun, and it is, to continue. Because something's going to happen one day, sooner or later, that's going to take the choice away from me. And, I'm not in a hurry for that day, so, it doesn't matter what happens, if I do choose to end it or something else comes along and takes that choice, so be it. But in the meantime, I'll make the most of it. And I don't want to make the most of it doing mundane things. I want to know as much as I can, or even play with ideas as much as I can, because it's much more fun, and I don't see any point in not having any fun.
Yeah.
And this is the moment when we can actually say, okay, that's it, thank you, but I would like to go a bit further, because you touched for a moment those topics like, okay, if I decide to quit, what's going to happen? Is it me to decide to quit? And if it's not me, who's going to decide if when I'm going to quit or when I'm going to die? And is it me, like higher me, deciding that from very, very beginning, even before I was born, that I'm going to be done, let's say, at age of 77? Or it's not me, or maybe it's the source which is deciding it. But all those topics are the great topics, but perhaps for the next time. But
there is something. When I was, I think, 21 years old, from 16, I had you live your life with your friends and parties and that sort of thing. But I noticed that there were parties, and most parties were, for me, dull, really dull. So I thought, well, I have a really interesting book at home, so let's go home. At 11 o'clock the party started. Then the impulse came just to go home and read the book or go to bed early, because I noticed that the Mondays after the weekends were, for me, if I can read it in my I wrote a lot on Mondays, because that, for me, I called it the black spots in my soul, and life was really heavy on Monday evening, so I wrote the heavy stuff. But Tuesday was always quite clear. and life was it was possible to read a book again. On Monday I couldn't read a book, so I was really curious about all those rhythmic things in life that allowed me or to read a book or not to be able to read a book. And why is that party, all those people, is that interesting? So I dared to answer, to wonder if a party was more fun than reading a book or talking about or make a walk with the dog in the moonlight. Well, and then it starts. Then you're not normal anymore. Because I had a lot of interesting friends and well.
But you know, I see that a lot of similarities between all three of us when I listen to you. I'm not saying directly about that one, but actually I'm also part of this show called Party. When I was going for a party, and first of all, up front, I knew I'm not going to have fun there. I mean, I might have some fun, but probably I'll be tired very soon, so maybe not even point to go. But even if I decided to go for a party, after 1, 2, 3 hours, I was done. I was just thinking like, okay, how to get out and be at home, and not because of physical tiredness, but also that was also part, but more like tired with your thoughts. Like, you know, it's like not a good place to think about yourself, about just go to the core. No, it's not the place to go to the core. It's like instead of getting your attention inside of you, you're just getting your attention outside of you. You just spread it around and you actually don't know what's going on anymore. So every single party, I was coming back home, resting, and after even party and after the sleep, I had to sort of gather myself back in order to feel again like I'm just one unit instead of being spread out into particles. But obviously, you know, some people might say, "Oh, you've got some psychological issues." You know, majority of us, we go for a party, we drink a beer, we have fun. We know we have some maybe random sex, and that's fun. That's part of your life. Yeah. Hold on, but who said like this is part of your life? It can be part of your life if you want to, but it's not necessarily needed. It's something that you claim to be part of your life. Yeah. But why should I be part of this life? Perhaps I've got different ideas to having fun in my life.
I experience that as well. A lot of parties.
You see,
but I mean to the extreme. But there was always this idea behind me that was again just curiosity. I'm curious. I wasn't a party person. I certainly wasn't outgoing enough as a kid. I didn't have a lot of friends, but when I fell into a certain stream of people and lifestyle, sex, drugs, and rock and roll, because I was in a band, I lapped it all up, you know, because I hadn't had that before. I was always the serious kid with deep thoughts. But now, well, okay, abandon, let everything go, and see what happens. And it was just an experience. And I was curious about what would happen with me. And it got to a point where my personality changed a little bit. And people started noticing that and pulling me up on it. So I thought, yeah, but if I carry on down this, I'm going to turn out into a rotten little person. I don't like myself for that. So, okay, now's the time to stop. And or take it easier anyway. And then I grew out of it. You know, I grew out of it because I didn't need it that long, and it wasn't. But it was just for that small period of time. It was interesting. It's just like going for a cold dip somewhere else, or going to another country where you say, "Well, at least I've seen it now. I don't have to go back there." You know. So again, it's part of the thing. Yeah. But the curiosity it became part of that same thing about these questions. What is the experience of life? Yeah. You know, what is the meaning of life? What is existence? What is life? Now, by doing that, I could certainly say, well, that's not it. The same reason I've swapped and changed into hundreds of different jobs. That's not it. That's not it. That's not it. They're all part of an experience, but it's not it. And asking these questions is a sort of a journey towards finding out what it is, without necessarily needing to find the ultimate answer. It's just fun to ask the questions and find out what it's not.
But this is great because it gives me this impression that I've always been having this kind of excitement inside of me. Because I remember when my father said to me in all those days when it was difficult to get some products, let's call it like this, when he promised to me, give me a matchbox, this little cars when I was a kid. And they were very difficult to order and very pricey. When he told me that I'm going to get them at some point, the period of time between when he said so and receiving this product, this matchbox, a car, was the most fascinating period of time. Not the point when I got it and I started to play with it.
Yeah.
So this excitement of getting something, dreaming about it, analyzing, whoa, it will be so great, I'll be driving with it, I'll be imagining that I'm a professional driver, this and that. That was excitement, not the fact that when I got it and I started to play with it. When I started to play with it, maybe after a week, I put it aside, okay, that's it.
Yeah.
But 2 months of excitement, wow.
Well, this is part of the same thing, it's the imagination of these, the possible answers of these questions, to these deeper, bigger questions, is just contemplating them.
Yeah.
Contemplation of the answers and just imagining the what the truth is behind them all. That's great. That's if we already knew it, it would be so boring if we already knew the answer.
But as a youngster, you don't know if it's worth the inspanning, if it's worth the work on it.
Yeah.
But when I was 16 and I met with that book personally, or the book met me, the book met me literally, it leaves in you some sort of ideal or some sort of this is the world. I got so enthusiastic for that book, and that makes you remember this moment, and a party will never be the same as the experience of reading that book as a 16-year-old coming on age. And maybe for others it's sex the moment they are always with it, but for me it was a book. So maybe I'm not really fit for being a human being, but the book, that experience was so great. And you have those moments in life, and maybe what you said, every life was someone whose quote was, if you didn't see a wonder, a miracle in a day, you didn't look good. So every day it is possible to see a miracle in your life, and if you didn't see, look better tomorrow. So that's a good quote.
I have that. We discussed that. I discussed that with my brother quite a lot. The idea of spending a day just looking for miracles, just to keep yourself aware of all the different things that's going on. And there are miracles. I mean, you just have to look at it. Anything that grows is actually a miracle. Or just look at yourself in the mirror and think, "Wow, I'm actually here." That's a miracle as well, or it's a wonder in any case, And I think, that sense of wonder is curiosity is spark of sort of life, which enables you to overcome the mundane.
But the problem is the dead end street. The thing, you have those questions, but you're a little bit, why do I not find the answer? So for me, the wonder in the beginning of my 20s was, where comes the energy of having those experience with a good book or something else, a good talking with someone? Where does that energy come from? And looking for, hey, if I do this, if I have some rhythm in life, or do not eat too much or something like that. Well, I really was addicted to that feeling I met the first time with that, reading that book I mentioned in my introduction. So, well, that's then the curiosity begins, but the work begins too. What do you have to do? Why didn't tell me anybody what is necessary for me?
Yeah.
And then you think, oh well, I really have to investigate what is best for me. Nobody can tell me what is best for you or for me, and you can only find the answers yourself.
Yeah. Which leads on to a lot of other questions that you put on your topic list there, like what is happiness, what is good and bad, and it's all connected in that sort of.
But we also come to the point where I start to connecting it to another aspect, which is something what I've been thinking for a long time. Why, assuming that we are not just one live creatures, I mean, that we just appear and disappear and then we are gone like forever. If you assume that there's a process of reincarnation and we come back to this physical realm, I remember asking myself why I come here to this next life and I don't remember anything. And now when we're talking about those aspects, like, you know, playing with the toy, and after some time of experiencing, you just don't feel that satisfaction anymore, so you put it aside.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just connecting two dots and thinking, like, if I was Mark in previous life and coming back to this life now as Thomas, and I knew all those aspects of playing with toys, with talking to people, having parties, perhaps there would be no point for me to find for any kind of excitement anymore, because I've already experienced everything. So that would be pointless. Maybe that's one of the points why we come here as fresh minds.
And also why we might come with a certain theme. You know, that's if you came here with the idea that you have something to learn, or have something to overcome, like karma,
Or work on.
to grow, to have a certain experience that is really important for your soul, for your greater self. Presuming you believe in that. If you don't, then you've got another perspective on purpose and meaning. But if that's where you come from anyway, and that's your understanding of existence and who you are, then you might have, as higher self, put this impulse in you. So really, you know, your answer to why do I find it so fascinating to talk about these things? Because it's why you're here to ask these questions. Because it's the thing that drives you to find out or to accomplish what you came here to do. And if you didn't ask these questions, if you didn't have that impulse, it wasn't written into your program for this particular life, then you might go off another track and not accomplish what you came here to accomplish. Because we don't know. But that's a sort of, if you do ask these questions and you do analyze yourself and reflect on your answers that you come, and really understand what drives you. Once you start understanding that, I find that you become convinced that it's part of your reason to be here.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You have the Greek myth of the river of forgetting, or how is it?
Forgetfulness.
So in the old stories, these themes come back. So there will be a reason that we forget all the things we have already learned.
Yeah.
So you can come into the experience with an open mind. If you would know what you had to learn, it's well, a little bit dull maybe.
Yeah.
On the other hand, we've heard stories of people coming and repeating the same mistakes every single life, and although
Yeah.
if you remember
It's an experience too.
what your problem is, you wouldn't be coming through the same issue
No,
again.
no.
So
No, maybe.
like, it's very
Practice makes perfect. You know, you can't expect to be a master in one go. So you come back 100 times and do the same thing over and over again until you learn, until you suddenly get it, and then you
Right.
can move on to something else.
all right. And we reached that level. Now let's assume what happens then.
You choose something else.
But most of the time, the team is egoism, is laziness.
What thing?
According to me,
Yeah. Yeah.
if you make the same mistakes, it's always
Oh, that.
No. But
Yeah.
But my question was, if you, let's say, when you've been here on Earth, or let's say in this
Yeah.
physical room for several
times. Yeah,
and you worked on some aspects, and now you're done according to you or somebody,
yeah.
what happens to you then?
Or maybe you really take a deep swim in the river of forgetfulness and come back and start all over again, because it's fun.
But it's not. Well, do you think? Do you really think that it's? Well, if it's 2,000 years ago, the circumstances on Earth were the same.
I know what you mean. Yeah, everything's changing. The world
Yeah,
is not.
the world is
fixed,
changing,
It's not
it's
fixed.
more-
Everything's
more-
changing.
yeah.
So yeah, perhaps you know, in one life you see this, and in other.
In
you see
one
something
culture,
else.
if you were born in the Egyptian culture long before Christ was born, and then in Rome or in 1500 after Christ, well, it's completely different, and you have completely
Same
the
questions,
possibility
different
of completely different experiences.
Yeah.
But these are fascinating topics. But I'm afraid that we need to finish for now. But
Time already.
I'm pretty sure that we can carry on again, and I would like to carry on again because we haven't finished it yet.
The answer will last how many?
The answer is unknown yet. We need to discuss it over.
We don't know. We don't know the answer.
Video 152.
Yeah, once we have the answer, there's no more questions.
Of course. But we
I
love
was
to,
saying that.
we
I think
love
I've got
talk-
the answer.
we really love to discuss this and talk it over. So I'm having in my head already some questions related to all those topics. So let's carry on that next time. Thank you very much for this time, Mike and Geert.
Mhm.
As always, a lot of pleasure to talk to you. See you next time. Thank you.